Trigonometry and bearings. In survey and navigation, directions are generally given in terms of bearings. A bearing measures the acute angle, and I put that in capitals and underlined it, that the path or a line of sight makes with a fixed north-south line. So that's so important. We're going from this north-south line. North, south, east, and west. So here's a bearing, south 35 east. To me, I read this as go south and then bend it 35 degrees to the east. So if I'm going straight south, as it tells me, go south and then go in this direction 35 degrees. So that tells us that this angle here is 35. So here is the direction, south 35 degrees east. Now, another way to name this same angle is to do it clockwise from north. This would also be a bearing here. Notice this is not acute. If I find this angle, I can say that's my bearing from north. Well, north to east is 90 degrees. 35 and 55 degrees make up a 90-degree angle. So if this is 90 and 55, if I add those two up, I get 145 degrees from north. That's another way. These two mean the same thing. Notice this had an acute angle, and if I go clockwise from north, and I'm reporting this as the positive angle. I know clockwise is usually negative, but now we're coming from north. Usually we come from this positive x-axis, which would double as east. But two ways to name this direct path would be south 35 east, 35 degrees east, or simply 145 degrees from north. Similarly, we can find the path of north 80 west. Now, again, we're going from this north-south line. So this says go north, all right, and then bend it 80 degrees to the west. If I'm going north and then I bend it 80 degrees to the west, I get something like this. Here's north 80 west, north 80 west. And here is our acute angle. We've bent it this way, north 80 west. So that means this angle here has got to be 80 degrees, and this is 10 degrees. So this is a fine way to explain this path. However, we can also look at the clockwise angle from north will be this angle here. So clockwise from north, clearly I'm going to go 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 10. So that's 270 plus 10. I could also call this 280 degrees from north. That's another way to explain this. This is nice because it gives me an acute angle and it tells me right away I'm in this northwest quadrant. So maybe that's preferable to you, but this is nice because it's one number. It's very succinct. It's 280 from north and there's no mistaking. We're going to go all the way here. I just got to finish it off. And that was 270. Here is 280 from north. They both signify the same pathway. For south 60 west, I'm going to go, see, we're going on this north-south line. I'm going to go south and then bend it 60 degrees to the west. So there is my path right there. So south 60 west, of course, that's going to put me down in this third quadrant, or this southwest quadrant. Another way to look at this would be clockwise from north. So the one angle I'd want would be this one. Well, I know that this is 90 and this is 90 for 180 plus 60 is 240. So I could also call this 240 degrees from north. And we all know that we're talking about this. I should put this here. This is our starting spot, right? So the angle opens up clockwise from north. North 57 degrees east says go north and then bend it 57 degrees to the east. So that means this angle here is 57 degrees and we've got the pathway. Another way to name this would be to say this is simply 57 degrees from north. And again, that gives you that same angle. So in the northeast quadrant, which doubled as our first quadrant when we're doing the coordinate plane, the angle will be the same there. If we split north and east, we call that northeast. Now, you often see northeast, but understand that this means north 45 degrees east. So what would be the bearing from north of north 45 degrees east? It would simply be 45 degrees from north, and that implies clockwise. Notice that southeast is the same as saying south 45 degrees east. It splits south and east, so they're telling you that this angle here is 45 degrees. If we were going to do clockwise from north, we'd have 90 plus 45, which would be a bearing of 135 from north. That would be that angle there. Also note that southwest is south 45 degrees west. If I was going to find this angle, the bearing from north would be 90 plus 45, which is the same as 180 plus 45, or a bearing of 225 from north. And northwest, I hope that it makes sense that that's the same as north 45 west, meaning we're going north and we're bending this 45 degrees. Notice each of these, when I do north 45 east, I'm saying this angle is 45. It's with the north-south line. And south 45 west means that this angle here is 45 degrees. The acute angle is always going to involve the north-south line. What would this bearing be? Well, it's almost all the way around to 360, but 45 degrees short. So this would be a bearing of 315 from north. But often you see northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest, and you have to understand that they're telling you that that's exactly cutting north and east in half. So the angle between the north and east is 45 degrees. The angle between south and east is 45 degrees. The angle between south and west is 45 degrees. The angle between north and west is 45 degrees as well.